scab for the bosses. Don't listen to their lies. Us poor folks haven't got a chance. Lest we all
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
You're right. You're absolutely correct. This guy does stink.
I hope that burst everyone's eardrums.
We're remarks. That's all. It's okay.
And thanks for listening.
The podcast where Phoebe says something outrageous at the beginning every time. That's how we introduce it now.
Yeah, I like that.
Truly. How's it going?
It's good. I got so much shit done today. I feel very
That's what you were saying.
Accomplished.
What'd you do?
Cleaned my whole house. I did some little online errand things I needed to do. Took my doggy for a walk.
The infamous Tonks?
The infamous Tonks, the beautiful Tonks. Yeah, it was good. We went to the little park by my house and walked around. It was great.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's very cute.
Yeah, I feel on top of my shit again, which I felt like I was slightly losing my shit 2 weeks ago. So I feel much more put together now.
Yeah, I've been there. We've all been there, actually.
Yeah. It'd be like that.
Yeah, so we're doing a little COVID check-in, a little talking about labor shortages. I guess we're a little behind the topic now because people have been talking about it, but it's still relatively relevant. This whole labor shortage fear that everybody's talking about.
I feel like just giving a little more of an explanation for these things that you hear that you're everybody's saying these buzzwords, but it's what does that mean though? The
True.
supply chain issues, what does that mean?
Yeah, what? Pardon?
Pardon?
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I think that's why it's good to talk about it. Talk about capitalism. Talk about how it's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Do you want to scream the goat really quick
I should.
for some fan service?
Yeah, for you guys.
Beautiful. Anyway, I'm starting it off. I'm starting off talking about labor shortages. I guess I do kind of talk about this a lot, actually. But I took AP Economics when I was in high school. So I actually have economic college credit that I dropped out of college with, so it didn't really do me any good. But I always liked economics. I think it's interesting.
It is.
And I made a little graph that I'll post on.
I'm very excited about the graph.
Yeah. It's not anything too wild, but I'll get to the graph when we get to the graph.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Talking about labor shortages. Labor shortages only exist at current wage level. So basically, labor shortages don't actually exist. Instead of a company saying we can't find workers, they should really be saying we can't find workers at the price that we're willing to pay them.
Truth.
Wages for production, non-supervisory workers, and the vast majority of workers were only increased 1.2% in April, as of April of 2021, versus a year earlier. So wages hardly went up, and people were out of work for a long time. So people don't want to go back to working a shitty ass job for terrible pay. Yeah,
that is still very high risk.
Exactly. That's another thing too, is we're still in a pandemic, y'all.
It's still happening.
It's better for sure with the vaccines, but it's not over.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't think it is. Pull up this quote really fast.
Ooh.
Got a little quote skis.
Sexy little quote-a-rooney. Beatbox interlude.
Yeah, I know. I just had to pull tell a joke or something. I don't know.
Well, we're having more local coffee today. I'm getting myself off the corporate coffee company name that I won't mention. Mm-hmm. So yeah, today we're having
Moon
coffee.
Dollars.
Moon dollars. Today we're having coffee from Cup and Counters, which is a little coffee.
It's a little
fun.
Shop. I like it.
Yeah, it's cute. It's cute. I have a chai and it's good.
I like it. Okay, here's the quote. This is from The Hill. Their struggle has brewed for 40 years as wages stagnated, benefits vanished, and public policy offered working families little reprieve. Employers complain that too few people are returning to work, but America's labor shortage is really a shortage of good wages and workers' rights on the job. So go off the hill, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, labor shortages don't actually exist. It's kind of a big scam. Though it is common to see people spouting that unemployment benefits are why people don't want to work. Even in states that have rescinded supplemental unemployment benefits, they are also having trouble getting people to work the jobs that are available because, again, they're terrible paying jobs and oftentimes are still essential working jobs that are very dangerous. And there are still immunocompromised people that don't want to go work or people who are more elderly.
Right.
So, yeah, fuck companies.
True.
is the moral of the story.
Yeah.
According to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, one would need a $25 an hour wage to rent an average 2-bedroom apartment, and there is not a single city in the United States of America where a minimum wage worker can afford the cost of living. So whatever the city's minimum wage is, you can't afford the cost of living making that at whatever city it is.
Awesome.
Ours in Utah is $7.25 still.
Yeah. Which, like, even if you were working, like, 3 jobs, you still wouldn't be making, like, 3 minimum wage jobs, you still would not be making enough to
$25 an hour.
Rent a fucking apartment.
Yeah, no, it's insane. And especially where we live in Utah right now, like, the housing market's fucked.
Oh my God, it's a nightmare. Well, and it's like, you've seen, what did you say, a 1-point-something increase?
Yeah, 1.2% increase.
A 1.2% increase in the wages, but it's been like a 70% increase in housing prices, and rent included,
Yeah, exactly. On top of the already sexist pay gap, many women are taking on the task of caring for children and elderly parents, as well as about 2 million women dropped out of the workforce during the pandemic, and are oftentimes choosing to not return to work because of the shitty options that they have available for an unlivable wage. So it is affecting women a little bit more than men, what's new? But it's bad. I'm not stoked about it.
It is bad.
It's
just how things are.
How it is. The pandemic has been an earth-shattering time for many individuals and families and companies. And companies are spreading the myth of a labor shortage to try to get people convinced that they should go back to work. Or that, and actually, as we'll see, there's more to it than that even. But let's talk about it.
Okay.
Henry Williams, co-founder of the Gravel Institute, and this is from Salon.com, I might add, states that conservative think tank organizations will facilitate studies and articles that obviously are heavily biased against workers and will launder those articles and those studies through press releases and other conservative news sites, making the information seem credible and apolitical. So you get like some weird fucking like conservative website that like commissions a study and it's biased, and then they're like, look at the numbers.
Yeah. Well, even websites that I was going on for my research, they were using the term like labor shortage,
exactly,
which I think is just kind of like I was saying, like I think it's just kind of become one of those buzzwords that people use to just like describe this situation.
Yeah.
But it's like,
no, for sure. And I think that, I mean, it's not a very good term because again, there's not a shortage of labor. It should really be like, I don't know, like crisis. A wage crisis, wage shortage, even like something like that, because people will work if you're going to actually pay them what they're worth,
and like not treat them like complete and utter shit.
Exactly. Like,
just give them a little workers' rights as a treat.
We get a little bit of class consciousness as a treat, please. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce is a huge lobbying organization that released a statement within hours of a Department of Labor report that came out about the lack of people returning to work. The Chamber of Commerce argued that paying people for nothing is not helping get people back to work, and announced a lobbying effort to cut unemployment benefits while we are still in the midst of a pandemic because they are evil.
Yeah. Fuck you, Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, fuck
I'm inciting violence against every single member of the Chamber of Commerce.
Exactly. It's not. It sounds like it would be like a government thing,
Yeah,
but
what
it's
even is
not.
it?
It's like it's just a right wing like lobbying group.
Okay, you're stupid. I hate
It's
you.
a dumb. Yeah, it's a dumb fucking name.
You don't deserve to do anything.
Because
I don't like you at all.
the government is like the Department of Labor is like what that is. So
right.
the Chamber of Commerce is just like a dumb.
Then you're stupid.
It's like a dumb Department of Labor fanfic, I guess.
Yeah, I don't even give a fuck what you have to say, Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of fucking
Stupid assholes.
Exactly. Lamber of commerce, more like. Am I right, ladies?
Oh my god. We're off to a great start.
This is really good. It's a conservative talking point, almost as tired as I am. If we pay unemployment people more than we pay workers, nobody will want to work. Obviously, this claim isn't just wrong because it's cruel, but it's also approaching the issue incorrectly. Instead of asking why are people on unemployment,
exactly,
or instead of asking why are people on unemployment making more than people working, nobody is asking why aren't working people being paid enough to live, you know?
Exactly.
Really that's what it is,
exactly.
Right?
Also, Moonshine's sitting in a box.
Yes, she loves her little Vans shoebox. She finally started sitting in it.
I love her so much.
I know. She's cute.
Sneak a pic.
Pic for the gram.
For the gram.
But yes, and this was kind of why I wrote out this little graph because, and granted, it's a capital theory of like demand and supply, like capitalist theory of demand and supply, but like it applies to like wages, and we live in a capitalist society,
right?
But like when the demand for a product goes up, typically, then you're gonna see like the price of that product also go up and supply go up, and it changes the equilibrium of where demand and supply meet.
Yes.
The same is for wages. If there's higher demand for workers, then you would see the wages go up, right?
That's what you would.
That's what makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But conservatives don't want that. They don't want to pay people more. Business owners don't want to pay more for like what would logically like make sense. If you want to get more workers, you should pay them more, right? And that leads right into my next section, which is was from The Intercept, was the website. An actual shortage of workers would actually mean wages would rise because demand would be high and supply would be low. This is a quote from The Intercept. This is a shortage in the same sense that there is a shortage of new Lamborghinis available for $1,000. So it's like, yeah, you can't get a Lamborghini for $1,000. You're gonna have to pay more for it.
Yeah, like
that's pretty much sums it up there.
Simple, but
Yeah, for sure. The shortages began in okay, actually, sorry. I just had to like regroup where I was
Recalibrate.
Okay. So labor shortages in general, they began with our favorite imperialist power, Great Britain, and the colonizers of the United States. It's estimated that between 2 and 5.5 million indigenous people were enslaved in the Americas back when we had first began colonizing. Because of European spreading disease, there wasn't enough indigenous people left around to enslave once they started moving around. This was the first actual labor shortage, as you would call it, and it actually contributed to the expansion of the African slave trade because there actually wasn't enough slaves to do the work or whatever for indigenous people. Obviously, that's a little bit different because they were literally paying them nothing.
Yeah.
But that would be like an example of like an actual labor shortage when there aren't enough people to work. In this case, in a terrible situation.
Yeah, because of murder.
Because of murder and enslavement. After Britain abolished slavery, capitalists couldn't just let black people make money. and own land. So they actually jacked the price on land so only people with wealth could afford to buy it.
Yeah.
And that kind of like gave us what we would call like more of a modern labor shortage, where they were like, well, we don't have enough people, you better work, don't make money for yourself, you need to work for us. And where like sharecropping came from,
right,
and whatnot. So this is kind of where like the roots of this like labor myth come from. Several years later, a Scottish man named Thomas Carlyle wrote an article stating the following, and I have an excerpt from that article to read. Thomas Carlyle said, the West Indies, it appears, are short of labor, where a black man, by working about half an hour a day, can supply himself aid of sun and soil, with as much pumpkin as will suffice. He is likely to be a little stiff to raise into hard work, sunk to the ears in pumpkin, imbibing saccharine juices, not sure what that is, and much at ease in his creation. He can listen to the less fortunate white man's demand and take his own time in supplying it. Higher wages, higher for your cane crop cannot wait. Yeah, higher for your cane crop cannot wait. Still higher, no conceivable opulence of crane crop will cover such wages. So it's got a little wordy there at the end, but it's basically he's saying that, black people have it so easy because, we're paying them too much and they want more and more wages. And look at these poor white landowners who can't afford to pay the black people as much as they, because they want such high wages. So yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, and obviously untrue.
Exactly. Moving into the Industrial Revolution, many European countries enacted unemployment insurance, forcing European businesses to increase wages to compete with the feeble earnings of unemployment. So, like, literally, as unemployment should be, it was covering, like, the cost of living for people. So it wasn't, like, a glamorous existence by any means, but it was enough to, like, cover your costs. So it's like you could be on unemployment, or businesses would have to pay you more than unemployment to incentivize you to work for them.
Yeah, which makes
sense. Makes literal sense, yeah. It wouldn't be until 1935 that America would pass the Social Security Act, which finally introduced unemployment benefits into our post-depression country. So it wasn't until 1935 that we had unemployment.
Jesus Christ.
But don't you worry, Phoebe. Our pals, our business owning pals had a plan.
Oh, good.
Never trust a capitalist.
Truth.
If they could lobby to keep unemployment as low as possible and make sure that unemployment never got too low, so that the government wouldn't expand it higher, they could kind of rig the market so that there would always be like this it would always look like there's enough jobs to go around, but also like that it wasn't at like perfect everybody has a job kind of a thing, because they want to keep it so that like you don't have too many options.
Sure.
Because you don't like want to have people going around everywhere and having all this competition.
Yeah.
But they also don't want you to think that you are secure, or that unemployment is like better than what they're paying you, and they want to be able to pay you the lowest amount possible. So I don't know if that makes sense. It was a little confusing, but yeah, they like want to keep it at this weird middle ground.
Sure.
So
yeah, I get that.
Definitely kind of odd. But you know what won't lobby the U.S. government? Actually, no.
I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah,
in fact, I think that's exactly what they do.
I think that's the problem.
That's actually what's wrong with society.
What the issue is, yeah, for sure. Well, ads. We're back. Phoebe and I are talking about how you never stop clapping. Everybody's always consistently clapping. Just the time in between your claps gets longer.
True.
And the only time you really start clapping is when you're a child, and the only time that you stop clapping is right before you die, I guess.
Whenever you've last clapped before you died.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first clap, Taylor?
No. I assume, I don't know, I feel like elementary school sounds like it probably would have been.
I feel like babies clap a lot, though.
They're just like, that's true. They're dumb and tiny. Yeah.
Babies are fucking stupid.
Because their brains aren't developed
That's
all the way
true.
yet. And
I wonder if Teddy's had his
dumb.
first clap.
I also wonder that. We'll have to ask our sources.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
The only baby I care about.
It was probably when I was a baby. Also, I kind of think it's funny that, like, you never really learn, like, why you clap, you know? Like, you just kind of pick up on it, right? Like, you're just like, oh.
Everybody else is doing this,
yeah.
so I guess.
You just look around and you're like, ah, shit.
Can't be like the weird one not clapping.
I guess I gotta clap, yeah. I don't remember getting explained, like, why we clap for things. People just do. I don't know. It's big questions, y'all.
Yeah. Getting deep on Remarks Pod today.
Real deep.
We're just like big, deep thinkers. It's like we just like watch a lot of Rick and Morty.
Watch a lot of Rick and Morty. I spend a lot of time on Reddit, which is very similar energy, honestly. Like watching Rick and Morty and being on Reddit.
It really does. I'm going to just one more tangent and then we'll get into it. But
Please go off.
Somehow found this like subreddit the other day. Well, it was because of a Twitter post of people who will take like a massive amount of Benadryl and trip and have a horrible experience, but they just like keep doing it. Literally, it's like people will be like, oh, about to take like 17 bennies, can't wait to talk to the shadow man and envision spiders all over me.
Jesus.
Yeah, and like they just have, it's like a horrible time. Like literally all of them were like, posting that it's not fun and it's terrible and they see scary things and then they're like, gonna try it again with 20 Benadryls the next time.
That's so weird.
Yeah. And then there's all these people on the thread that are like either like ex-Benadryl users or like people who are like, hey, don't do this because it's not that fun. And they're like, just use, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's DXM, which is just like cough syrup, basically. They're like, just do cough syrup instead, man. And I'm like, wow, I cannot believe that we're like, we're like encouraging people to do codeine instead of swallowing 87 Benadryls.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I mean, I guess I like... maybe it's like the same as like watching a horror movie where it's like you're scared but then you feel like cathartic coming out the other side of it, you know?
I guess, but like it's like real though. Like you're like in it, you know what I mean? Like that moment, the shadow man.
Maybe it's a haunted house vibe too, though. Maybe. Like you feel better coming out of it.
Because like, who am I to fucking judge what people do? And I'm not judging. I'm just saying
it's definitely weird.
It's just an interesting choice, I suppose.
It's definitely weird, and it's also definitely not healthy. Like it's got to be bad for you.
It actually causes like horrible liver damage and you get early onset dementia. So
Jesus Christ.
That's good. Yeah, and there's like all these memes about like forgetting things and stuff on that page. Look it up if you want to see it. I think it's called DPH or DHP. It's like I love DHP, I think is the thread. Right. Anyway.
I will absolutely look into that for sure because I love that kind of shit on the internet.
It's so wild. Sorry to go off.
No, I love that. And like yeah, it is funny. I guess nothing really surprises me on the internet anymore. Yeah. But, like, it is funny when you find a really weird niche thing.
Exactly.
That, like
I've just never
thought of.
I would never think to trip balls on Benadryl and have a bad time.
And then want to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back to labor shortages. You know what else doesn't trip on Benadryl and have a bad time? Labor shortages.
Is a bad time. Being in labor.
Yeah. Being in labor, yeah. So the labor shortage myth is the kind of the big myth about it is that when a company can continue or convince the population that there aren't enough people who want to work, they can then propose development projects to boost the economy and ask for government assistance in funding the projects, which that kind of brings it in. There's obviously the side of it where like companies want to keep wages as low as possible because you're a fucking business that exploits its workers.
Right.
But another big part of it is that they do want to get these government type grants. Or as according to the Wall Street Journal, Congress is considering providing a hiring bonus and expanded tax credits to employers using federal funding.
Wow.
Because of this like labor shortage myth that's happening right now.
Wow.
And, you know, and then obviously you have Republican senators and congressmen who are all in the pockets of these fucking huge corporations. So they're going to be pushing through these bills in, you know, this lobbying effort. But
it's like, why don't you just use that bonus to pay your workers more?
Because they, again, why would they give a hiring bonus when they can convince the government to do it?
Yeah.
And that comes out of your tax dollars.
I love that.
Yeah, so you know, there's kind of lobbying has been happening a long time. Definitely not the first labor shortage myth we're in, but this one's kind of unique because we are coming out of a pandemic. So like, it's just different. But this has been something that's happened a lot. To give you a little analogy, it's like if I was to take $100 from you in taxes, and then Phoebe convinces you, or convinces me. You in this case is the audience.
Sure.
And then Phoebe convinces me that you're lazy and don't want to work, even though she's going to pay you like 50 cents an hour. And I give her your $100 to pay you better, but she only gives you $50. She made $50 of the money that was already yours. Instead of just giving you better pay.
Yeah. Wow. That's so...
Sorry to put you in the place of businesses.
God damn it, Taylor. That's... Oh God, I'm mad.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it wasn't that, if you were like, oh, I'm trying to get people to like work for me, I'll offer them a hiring bonus, but I need the government to give me the money to do that. So it's like instead of them just offering a hiring bonus, but
yeah, right.
And you know, it's like there are a lot of companies who have been struggling because of the pandemic. Like, Don't get me wrong, but they don't need, you know, these big corporations don't need government funding to pay their workers better. Like,
well, and the bullshit thing too is that all of the I can't remember the word, but all of the like assistance money that was supposed to go to these small businesses,
the PPP,
yes, went to like fucking Paneras and shit.
Exactly.
Like, so it's like where this could actually be like, I guess, somewhat good or like applicable or whatever. That money is not going to small businesses anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter.
It's true. Like, there are people. Yeah, there's people who've been on the waiting list for assistance, like their businesses, and they just they're never going to get money for that. And again, a lot of businesses have closed down because of that.
Yes, many.
And not to mention that literally that tax money could be spent on anything else that would better people's lives, I guess, other than like the military. But
I don't know,
healthcare, education,
global murderous pandemic, like healthcare maybe.
Exactly. Or like, you know, that fucking like the thing that Joe Biden's trying to pass right now, the like infrastructure bill. That's going to make all these jobs, and the government's going to pay money for it, and it's going to stimulate the economy. It's very post-depression, New Deal vibes. Yeah. It's like they could go to that, but no, we're going to give it to a bunch of employers because we haven't learned that trickle-down economics doesn't work.
Or they have, and they don't care.
Nobody cares, yeah. And that's what's so frustrating to me is, like, we literally have seen historically that, like, conservative economics just doesn't work.
Yes.
Like, it literally only makes rich people richer.
Yeah.
And we're still arguing about it as if we don't know. Like, it's not... The facts are there. They just, again, there's just so many fucking dick asses that are in fucking the government.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it's like, how many like Great Depressions have we had now?
I mean, in the past, like, 20 years, we've been through the Great Recession.
Yep.
I think there was like, that's when the housing crisis thing happened. And then there's the pandemic.
Yes.
And I think there was one at like...
Which I feel like we're not even really out of the Great Recession, really.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to say, yeah, but... And then I think there was one that was like early in the 2000s as well, but I don't know, that one obviously wasn't like as big as the 2008 one.
Yeah,
But yeah, honestly, if you want my expert economic prediction, I think that student loan debt is going to be like the next housing crisis that really like fucks people over, because like there's people like that have fucking $200,000 in student loan debt
insane.
Before they've started a career. Like that could buy a house in a lot of places.
Yes.
Like
yes.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah, luda. Yeah, we're like, we're reaching the point where like a lot of people of like our generation and the generation below us are starting to like graduate from college and move to careers, and it's going to be this whole thing of like, not only is there no careers for you, but now you've spent all this fucking money and you're in debt from college.
Exactly.
From college.
And yeah, I mean, in like job markets in general, like unless you like go to college and you have a very specialized like service that you do, like America doesn't really produce that many things, you know, like there's not really factory jobs like a crazy amount in America, because everything's made overseas because it's cheaper for companies to do that.
Yep.
And I'm not necessarily saying that I'm like pro America, we got to produce everything here, but the reason why companies do that is because they can pay workers in foreign countries 30 cents a day and get their product made, and it's fucking insane. It's like, I don't care if you're gonna make things in other places, but you need to pay the workers what they are worth, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. rant yeah, so that's kind of the whole vibe of the labor shortage, and by vibe, the non-existence of it. There's not even a vibe.
The way that it's not real.
A whole lot of nothing, actually.
Yeah. When it's also just like, you're getting paid, you know, unemployment is, what is it, $600?
I think it was.
Something like that.
And I know that there was extra for like the COVID that kind of made it like $600 like a week or something.
Something like that. But anyway, and so it's like all of these, all of these workers, especially in like labor jobs that are extremely like hard on your body, are like, oh shit, I can not destroy my entire body and be away from my family for like hours and hours. Cool. I'm like,
I'm gonna do that.
Why would I go back to this job that pays me nothing to break my back, you know?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, for sure. Like, I'd say I make like decent money at my job, but I still didn't make as much as unemployment was, you know? And it's like, I don't want to take that from people who genuinely need it, who don't have a job, but it's like, I wouldn't blame someone for being like, oh shit, I can make more on unemployment than I can at a job that I'm working. Like, why would you not? Like,
yeah. And it's like, I think it just brings so much like light to the abuse that you're going through when you realize, like, you're like, oh my God, I'm literally being like, my physical body is being destroyed for this, for nothing.
Exactly.
For me to get nothing in return.
For literal like crumbs, like people are scraping by, and that's why it's so frustrating that like we can't get a goddamn at least a $15 minimum wage in place, because Democrats are fucking stupid. Like, I hate them. And
I know, me too.
I hate how they will literally compromise on human rights with Republicans, like,
because everybody should get along. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck every day. I'm so sick of it.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Well, and it's just like, it's never the Republicans that have to compromise. It's always fucking liberals that are like,
no, exactly,
are being pushed moderate.
Exactly.
And the left never gets anything it wants.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid. And again, like $15 an hour isn't that crazy with how expensive things are.
$15 an hour isn't even enough for us to live on.
Exactly.
We are pushing for a wage that is still not enough for us to live on. That's what we're having to.
It's true.
Get down on our knees and fucking beg for still. Yeah. We will die with this amount. Like, still die. We won't survive with this amount of money. So that's awesome. I love that's the point where we're at. Sorry, oh my God.
No, it's okay. And there is like something to be said. Like, there's a thing called creeping inflation, which like the prices of goods will go up gradually over time, like just naturally. That's why, you know, people talk about how I can get a piece of candy for a quarter down at the fucking drugstore when I was 10 years old. whatever the fuck they say. That's why, like, it's not like that anymore.
Right.
But, like, if you have a system that sets up a minimum wage that follows that creeping inflation, it's going to gradually go up with it so that it's not a huge jump to go from $7.25 to $15 or $20 an hour.
Right.
Because if you were gradually stepping that up through the years that the prices have been going up, it wouldn't. Because everybody's always like, oh, it's going to hurt the small businesses to make them go up. And it's like, it doesn't have to, though, if you were to pay them, if it was to be like a gradual thing. Because, yeah, it seems like a lot now, but if it was $1, $2 a year, $1.50 a year, like that wouldn't really be that big of a deal.
Yes, like if you had actually been increasing the wages to how like the cost of living has gone up the last, I don't know, 50 years or whatever, then it wouldn't be a big deal.
It literally wouldn't matter.
But here we are.
Would be nothing because it wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
But now it's got to be an issue.
I have to make up this fake labor shortage.
Fucking thanks, Obama. I don't think it's Obama's fault, but I like bringing that weird old meme back, you know?
I know. Thanks, Dick Cheney.
Thanks, Dick Cheney. Fucking dick. It is weird how, like, Dick Cheney was, like, very staunch Republican about most things, but had, like, a gay daughter, so he's very, like, pro-gay rights, which is, like, cool, I guess. You're still a piece of shit, but yeah.
Okay.
But, like, yeah, whatever.
Go, girl, give us nothing.
Exactly. Anyway, Phoebe's turn.
Here I am. Okay, well, I'm just going to be covering this supply chain thing. So, COVID
Love
update.
To hear about it.
Why everything still sucks. So, unfortunately, a year and a half later, we are still suffering from the effects of coronavirus. Not only is the virus still spreading at rapid rates despite vaccine efforts, with an average of 13 deaths a week in Utah. But we are now seeing the aftermath of a year of increased deaths, millions of dollars in wages lost, and the overall economic impact that a global pandemic has had on the country. Like I said, one of the most obvious issues is the supply chain backup. I'm sure you've heard people referencing this, or you might have experienced it yourself trying to find a specific product. I for sure have like seen it with my work. I've been unable to find a lot of like color that I used for people's hair, developer, which is like the thing that you put into the color to make it work. I can't get like quality gloves anymore. I have like lunch lady plastic like shitty gloves.
That's dumb.
Yeah, it's very annoying, but I mean it is what it is, but it is frustrating because literally the other day I was looking for, it's called the 3N, and it's just like dark brown. Like it's a pretty basic fucking color. Every single color line carries it. So I went to see if they had it in my typical color line. They did not, and I looked every other color line in the store and they did not have it. And that's like one of the most common colors. Like it's just brown.
Just brown hair, yeah.
Oh my god, I was like, what am I gonna do? So let's talk about this supply chain issue and what is actually happening behind this.
I'm so ready.
I'm so juiced. So one of the most simple reasons for these issues is that many companies slowed production last year to accommodate for the quarantine and the lack of customers. And now they're having a hard time reintegrating back into a more open and bustling society. So with less people employed and therefore not having money to quote unquote stimulate the economy, a majority of companies slowed production of their goods in order to accommodate for this so they wouldn't lose money on overflow merchandise just collecting dust in their warehouses.
So they just haven't like adjusted back to
exactly.
And that makes sense because like even I've seen a lot of like things around the internet of people being like, have patience because there's 2 grocery store workers in like a huge line,
right?
Because they haven't like scheduled or hired more people,
right. Yeah, like a huge amount of like people getting laid off or fired last year, etc. Not to mention a bunch of people died. So
yeah, awful. And still at 13 deaths a day, you said?
13 deaths a week in Utah.
A week. That's good. That's better. But, like,
yeah, but
still
not good at all.
Not, I mean, would prefer to be 0 for sure.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. There was also, of course, the quarantine, which greatly impacted the service industry, which requires many supplies to function. For instance, like I said, my industry has seen a huge impact. The restaurant industry is suffering from this reopening as well and has been struggling to get orders in. And has been having to remove menu items. For instance, a small restaurant that I went to in New Mexico didn't have any chicken dishes on their menu for the time being because they couldn't get any. due to the supply chain issues. And I mean, we're seeing more and more of this, like different things affected that seem very common. Like, I mean, chicken. It's chicken.
Yeah.
It's
that fucking
like,
chicken, dog.
That viral video of the kid who's like waiting outside of like a Chick-fil-A or something. And he's like, it's chicken. It's fried chicken. It's so funny.
It's just chicken. Yeah.
Oh, I'm waiting outside in the freezing cold. Anyway, it's hilarious.
Apparently.
That one too. I fucking love that one.
So funny.
Oh my God. So as Taylor had talked about, the supposed quote unquote labor shortage is a big reason why the supply chain is struggling. Many news media sites report a rash amount of labor workers quitting their jobs, specifically truck drivers, with an estimated shortage of 80,000 drivers in 2021, and the Labor Department in July reporting that the warehouse industry had a record high of 490,000 job openings. What these news sites are failing to include in these reports is, of course, what's actually causing these shortages, which is due to several reasons, one of which is actually strikes and drivers quitting or retiring. But this is also due to the amount of deaths seen in America alone, which has reached 447,000 and counting. Yeah.
Well, and I know there was a big Amazon strike that was happening, and Amazon did a whole bunch of that good old classic fucking union busting, baby.
Yep.
Which,
I know.
It's very frustrating. And, yeah, if you're in a union, fucking good for you.
Good for you. Come talk to us about it.
Please, yes.
Actually, really, we
would
love
for real.
To
We'll Zoom you and record an episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know. There also needs to be considered, as I was saying earlier, the amount of layoffs that occurred last year. The openings that the Labor Department is reporting are also due to the massive amount of people that were left unemployed last year due to companies trying to cut costs due to the economic changes. And there are also, of course, many people who aren't a part of the COVID fatality count, but are a part of the casualty count. That's hard to say, sorry. People who are still suffering from effects of COVID. That was not planned. Workers who have gotten sick and need to take more than 2 weeks off and then subsequently get fired. This number is also ignoring many people who are still Zoom schooling their children and are trying to find a work from home job so they can actually watch their children. And This number is also ignoring the people who had a spouse die and are now the sole childcare provider in the family.
Yeah, it's fucked.
It is very fucked.
Well, and it's just, again, I know there are small businesses who have struggled and, are struggling to get back on their feet, but fucking Amazon isn't struggling to get on its feet. Fucking corporations aren't struggling to get on their feet. They just don't want to pay people reasonable wages.
Right.
And first off, people just aren't going to put up with it. And again, like you were saying, there's so many other factors that are going into why people can't work or need to, change the way they work or need more money to incentivize them to work.
Right. It's because it's well, now, if a spouse has died or maybe their parents are old and they had to move in with them or something, It's I need more money to take care of all of this stuff.
Exactly. And again, like I was saying, that's affecting a lot of women in the population right now.
Exactly.
So a lot of them are just not going back to work because they're like, I have so much shit going on and I can't get a job that pays enough that also is work at home. So what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. So our boy Old Joe has announced that he is now keeping the Port of Los Angeles open 24/7 to try and ease the situation before the holiday season. The Port of Los Angeles is responsible for about 40% of the United States imports. Quote, strengthening our supply chains will continue to be my team's focus, said Biden. If federal support is needed, I will direct all appropriate action, and if the private sector doesn't step up, we're going to call them out and ask them to act. Okay.
But will you, Joey B, will you though?
Joey B.
little Joey B, will you actually though, is the
and
question.
Also, how? How are you going to do that, Joe? Because Gene Soroka, the port's executive director, is anxious about the transition, but he believes the workers are capable. As of October 15th, the date for the schedule change to 24/7 operations has not been announced. Quote, it's not a single lever we can pull. It's not a single lever we can pull today to open up all the gates. But what we're doing is trying to squeeze every minute, every hour of Wow, every hour of efficiency out of this port complex that we can, sharing information, building on those strong, decades-long relationships. And with the strength of the federal government behind this, Soroka said during a meeting briefing Thursday, the work here will be fast. It has to be. But it's bringing everyone together. There's no timeline when suddenly we will wake up and everything will be 24/7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see Joe Biden, because again, Democrats don't have the kind of influence to do anything about private sectors. The best thing, this is getting too political commentation-y, but the best thing I think that they can do is pass that fucking infrastructure bill, because then they can pay people what they're worth, get people working again. Right. And it's going to create all the, more jobs and shit. I don't know.
And more people returning to these labor jobs.
Exactly.
For instance, at this port, because they're like, oh, well, I'm actually going to get paid decent, like a living wage. Okay.
Exactly. And then, if you're making all these new jobs that are paying well, it's going to force companies to have to pay better to compete with the job or with the government jobs.
Right. Exactly.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. Before I get into a little bit of just more about the Port of Los Angeles, you know what?
You know what isn't a port in Los Angeles? You know what isn't my cat scratching up my chair?
Moonshine. Not the vintage chairs.
Yeah, my vintage chairs. Sorry, I would. Other nice vintage chairs.
No, they are. I love it. Your little accent on that.
My accent, yeah. It was my. It's kind of my like. I don't know. I don't even know what accent that was. Little valley girl, a little kinda, like exasperated gay kind of voice, like, oh, my vintage chairs. Anyway, ads. That's it's insane. So you're telling me you were on Shark Tank and you didn't tell them that the business you were trying to pitch to them involved beavers?
Listen, I know it's just a lot of people have a lot of like negative views towards beavers, and I didn't want to put that up front right away. It got me in trouble later when Mark Cuban did find out that beavers were involved, because I don't know if you know this, but he is pretty like staunchly anti-beaver. He's put it out there a lot. He doesn't let the
beaver
Dallas
hate for sure.
Yeah, he doesn't let the Dallas Mavericks like go to any states that have beavers in them.
Which is probably a good portion of states, right?
Yeah, and that's why they only
play in Dallas. You kept that bit going for a good really that I'm honestly like, I set it up, but you really like took off with it, I'm
kind of a good improver. Also a guilty pleasure is Shark Tank. I fucking love that should be my nice comfort show that I watch again. I don't know why. It's so entertaining to me. It's just really funny.
Well, and that's like, I mean, it's because it's like kind of a reality TV show. Like, I mean, I'm sure they like stage a little bit of it, but TV. Yeah, it's just like fun to watch people's terrible fucking ideas and then get fucking roasted by these business tycoons. Like,
which fuck all of them, but
yeah, for sure.
The funniest thing to me is when they'll invest in something that the entire time I'm like, this is stupidest shit I've ever heard of. But literally this woman came up with this idea of, it was literally just a towel with a head hole cut into it. That's it. Just a towel that had a hole cut in the top that you could like wear as like a little like
over yourself.
Poncho thing. Yeah. And she was like selling them, and literally now they have them at like Disney World and shit.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
And Lori, whatever her name is, who works for like QVC, was like, "This is amazing." And I mean, I guess it's at Disney World, so she's making money. But
yeah, it sounds like something they'd sell on QVC.
Absolutely.
That a bunch of old people would buy because they have no fucking.
They're like, my grandchild would love this.
Yeah, it sounds like something my grandma would get me, and I'd be like, thanks, An avocado, thanks. Yeah, insane shit.
QVC is so funny.
So I used to date this person. Not gonna use their name, but and their grandma would always like get the most insane gifts. Like she'd like give them like a used hairbrush and like half of a bottle of conditioner as like a gift for like a birthday.
Was grandma okay?
I don't know. Yeah, questionable, but yeah, Yikes. Terrible gifts.
Wow.
If you're listening to this, you know who you are.
Damn, interesting. My grandma got me a really nice blanket. I think it was last year. And I still love it. We call it the grandma blanket. My dog loves it. That's like her favorite blanket I have. It's really cute.
She can tell.
No,
she
does.
Given with love.
Yeah,
you know?
She knows. Anyway, Port of Los Angeles. So the Port of Los Angeles is. Let me just backtrack so we know where we're at. So Biden is pushing to keep the Port of Los Angeles open 24/7. The executive director of the LA port is like, okay, that seems a little sketchy, Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Biden has also not said like when that's actually going to happen. He's just probably one day going to be like, and now's the time.
And now's the time. And if you don't have enough people to work 24/7, then
good luck, Charlie.
Good luck. Yeah. Like, thanks for the preparation, Biden.
Yeah. So, the Port of Los Angeles is currently experiencing its busiest year in 114 years, averaging over 900,000 containers per month. On October 14th, there was 62 ships waiting in the San Pedro Bay to enter ports, with 31 of those headed to the Port of Los Angeles. Ships have been spending an average of 12 days anchored in the ocean, waiting in line to dock at the port. 12 days just waiting in line in the ocean, not even getting to the port, just...
That's so stupid. So they're obviously very backed up.
Very backed up.
They don't have enough manpower, I would assume, to like run it, because again, they're probably not paying people.
They're not. Yeah, like I literally get agitated when I have to wait 10 minutes to leave a parking lot after a concert. So
I remember that.
It's just frustrating. It's like I know it's gonna be like that every time, but I'm just like
yeah.
So this is an extra 12 days on top already of the amount of time that it takes to get that ship to that line.
Yeah, and then I don't know how long it takes to unload, but like
then there's that part as well.
Well, and then I assume there's the time to ship the products then to the stores where they need to go. So it's like you're just adding. It's just It's rough.
Exactly. So this is where we're seeing these containers just stacking up at these ports. Like we saw when we were in San Francisco, we drove past and there was like all of these containers just sitting there. And this is where the truck drivers get in. So this is the part of the products that are there and they are able to get them unloaded. Mm-hmm. They now are not having enough truck drivers to actually get them to the places they need to go. And this isn't even addressing what kind of impact working 24/7 doing labor is going to have on the dock workers. According to the White House, members of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union will work the extra shifts, according to an article from Fox Business. So, of course, they're making the union workers do the shittiest parts.
Really hope that they're going to be agitating for better pay for the workers, too. I would hope so, but... I don't know. I don't know enough about that union to be able to say, but
don't know. Nick Vyas, who's the executive director at Kendrick Global Supply Chain Management Institute, which is the longest name for anything. I'm not even done. He is the executive director at the Kendrick Global Supply Chain Management Institute at University of Southern California Marshall School of Business. Is skeptical about the 24/7 plan and does not seem to think the solution does not seem to think it will be the solution Joe Biden seems to think it will be.
Yeah.
He says, quote, "So I think we're going to have to go through the peak seasons with these bottlenecks, and although the bottlenecks may actually move from the ports to the inland, the delay is I do anticipate to be continued through the holiday season."
Well, I mean, we're in fucking November. Like, I don't think unless they really kick it into gear, like, we're not going to be getting, like, figuring it out anytime soon.
Right, exactly. The supply chain issues kind of started happening. We saw them at the beginning of the pandemic, which was causing, like, issues with the PPE, the N95 respirators, the gloves, cleaning supplies, you know, and that took almost a year to resolve. And the federal government and FEMA had no clear guidance on where those products actually needed to go. And so some states had an oversupply of PPE and other states had these, like, terrible shortages. It was just a huge fucking mess.
Well, yeah, and I think it was Donald Trump. Didn't he say, wasn't he like having states like bid on how, like, getting medical supplies and stuff?
God. I don't actually know, but that's
I'm going to look it up, but
evil.
I'm pretty certain that he was like having states have to like bid for it.
What a fucking monster. Nick Vyas says that this supply chain backup was inevitable and that it's been on its way for about 40 years now. He says, quote, "We allowed supply chains to get away without having contingencies in place, resiliencies in place, and other measures to ensure humanity would never be subjected to this." Are you ready?
Yeah.
I mean, with your
yes, I am ready. Yeah. It's just the title of the article from Business Insider is "The Trump administration forced states to bid eBay style for masks and ventilators, according to an explosive new documentary." And it's not even like it was really new. I mean, yeah, this was last year that this article came out.
Right.
So. But yeah, it was a big mess, and then the states had to fucking eBay style bid.
So evil.
Yeah, it's.
Oh my God, I hate it here.
The art of the deal, baby. A bunch of people dying, but
yeah,
make them fight.
That's fine. One of the big items impacted by this domino of supply chain struggles is lumber. I think a lot of us have seen the lumber shortages and heard of the increasing prices of lumber. There's a bunch of memes going around about it.
Wood shortage.
Yeah. But the pandemic-driven home renovation projects definitely play a part in the depletion of lumber, but more so played a part in the gouging of lumber. For years, the price of 1,000 board feet of lumber has gone for about $200 to $400, and now it's well above $1,000.
Oh shit.
Yeah, the average new single-family home takes about 16,000 board feet of lumber to construct. So a new house that would have cost $10,000 in wood now costs about $40,000 in wood.
Well, that's fucked.
Yeah.
Which also then would contribute to how much they're selling the houses for.
Exactly.
So sick.
Yeah. Awesome. Love that. The price is, of course, being driven up by demand and scarcity, but I would still consider this price gouging, as something has gone up in price by 400%.
Yeah, no, that's definitely gouging, and obviously is throwing a big fucking wrench in the economy.
It is a nightmare.
Whether you call it gouging or not, it's still a fucking problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Similar to how pre-pandemic a box of 50 surgical masks was about $10, now are going anywhere from, I think it might have actually toned down a bit now, but for a while we're going from anywhere from about $45 to $50 in peak hysteria times during 2020. And I once paid around $10 for a 5-pack of masks at a 7-Eleven.
Yeah, no, I remember. Ooh, yeah, I remember.
It was a nightmare. Like, before I went back to work in June, and so before I went back, I was like looking for these masks, and on Amazon, it was like ridiculous. I paid, I think, like $90 for two like 70-pack of masks or something like that. I don't remember.
$90 though? That's
no,
fucking
yeah, it was
insane.
It was insane, especially again when these items were going for much cheaper.
Yeah.
Before this, which it's a clear correlation.
Yeah, obviously, but
yeah. So what is causing this shortage, quote unquote, in lumber? The real issue remains in the lumber processing facilities themselves. The lumber industry has been struggling for a while now, and it's not seen a recovery since its first big hit during the Great Recession. It's had a steady decline in the years following and actually has had one of its worst years economically in 2019. So, of course, when the pandemic hit the U.S. in 2020, many facilities slowed production, they laid off employees, or they shut down completely in the beginning of 2020 in anticipation that the pandemic and quarantine would cut the need for lumber. So now, much like the shipping crates we see waiting at ports, we have timber that has been cut down waiting to be processed into lumber, just like sitting at these processing plants.
Yeah, because it's just no one's there to do it, and they just have a bunch of shit. Which then, I would assume, because, you know, everything in like an economy is connected. So it's like there's, I don't know if lumberjack is the right term for them now, but
Yeah.
but like the people that are cutting down these trees or whatever, like they're obviously not needed as much. So like people are going to get laid off from there as well. And it's just a big fucking thing.
Yeah. I think they're called loggers, I want to say.
A logger.
Lumberjacks, though. I mean, I feel like people, like, I've seen all these like lumberjack people on TikTok, and I feel like they call themselves lumberjacks.
Not that lumberjack is like a bad term.
No,
it's
I don't
just
think
I just don't know what like the technical term,
yeah,
you know.
it just sounds so old-timey.
Yeah, like a lumberjack. But get that
it's the lumberjack.
that transatlantic accent.
Because there was a portion of the population who was able to keep their jobs or possibly found a way to tap into a market now exposed by the pandemic, those people started working on home improvement projects, buying fixer-uppers, or wanting to move into new builds, and the demand for lumber shot up, increasing the price of lumber and subsequently raising the price on housing. It's at quote from Robert Dietz, who is the chief economist at the National Association of Home Builders. He says, quote, "It's adding about $36,000 to the price of a typical newly built home and almost $13,000 to a typical apartment." So clearly, I mean, that's
a huge, well, and that's what we're seeing. Like, it's so fucking expensive right now to just be alive. Like,
yeah. And I mean, it's, you know, as you said, it's like, it's all connected. There's a bunch of different factors, but like, it's just so crazy to me that it goes all the way down to like what the house is even fucking made out of is what's driving up the price. I mean, it's just, everything is a mess. Of course, what is adding to the driving up of housing prices is the relocation of residents from large crowded cities and from COVID-stricken states into smaller towns and less affected areas. One large example we're seeing of this is here in Salt Lake City. The California population, with larger incomes infiltrating SLC and causing developers to hike up housing prices. This was already an issue pre-pandemic, with California residents relocating to Utah due to the worsening fire threats in California, and then also to Silicon Valley spreading into Utah, but that's for another episode.
Yeah. Silicon Valley, can you get the fuck away from me, please?
Out of my state, please.
I would very much like.
You are ruining my life.
Honestly, please, for the love of God, it's so expensive to be alive.
Also, every single tech bro is so...
Tech bros, don't listen. You're not allowed. I'm taking a firm anti-tech bro stance on the pod. Like,
go.
If you sell crypto, if you trade cryptocurrency,
oh yeah, no, fuck you, so hard.
Get out of here.
You're the worst. You're the worst.
Lol.
Yeah. The lumber industry is also seeing threats due to increasing deforestation, raging wildfires, and in British Columbia, a tree-eating pine beetle infestation that is driven by the warming climate.
So climate change.
Yeah, climate change is also fucking everything up.
Yeah, and that's really sad because I'm sure those little beetles are just minding their own business. They don't know that they're fucking up the economy.
Exactly.
Like,
it's not
they're
their
just
fault.
vibing, you know?
They're like, oh my god, there's so many more of us alive now. We're also hungry for pine trees.
Exactly. And we're the one, and we did it to ourselves. We fucked up the planet, and now the pine beetles are vibing, and we're all dying.
The pine beetle uprising.
Will pine beetles be the next advanced civilization?
Maybe.
I think it's likely. This podcast. In this essay, I will.
Oh my god. Pine beetles.
Pine beetles, man.
Right. But so even where there are trees to be cut down for sawmills to purchase, like the American South, loggers are not seeing the increase in lumber prices reflected into their paychecks. Chase Barber, who is a TikTok famous lumberjack in Canada, said, quote, "The price of lumber has gone way up. The mill's making a lot more money, but they're not paying us anymore," he said. It's funny how that works.
It is funny how that works.
It's funny how that works, Chase.
It's so wild, too, because, like, you know, you would think that, like, and it used to be this way, like, unions and just, like, workers' rights were kind of like a nonpartisan issue or bipartisan issue. Like, everybody was like, yeah, we want fucking workers to make them as much as they're worth, right? But, like, it's weird that it's become less like that. And I mean, obviously it's more of a leftist thing because it's like a workers' movement. But it's just weird because it's like you have all these, like, working class, like, Republican Trump supporters.
Right.
That, like, I guess they just don't realize that, like, you're literally supporting candidates that, like, are fucking you over.
Exactly.
I mean, they've always been, but, like, in a very tangible way by just being like, no, you can't unionize, you can't, you know, agitate for better pay and do all these things. Like, it's frustrating and just sad because, again, they've kind of been duped into it. So it's
exactly.
Like,
well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's that thing of, like, how convincing that these politicians can be, or this cult-like mentality that follows these politicians, that it's just like you are it's like you're having the rug pulled out from under you. Like, you don't even realize that it be your own politician doing this to you.
Yeah. And I mean, and not to say that, again, Democrats are much better either, you know.
Oh, no, they're also horrible.
Because they also are capitalists and at the end of the day don't want labor unions. So.
Yeah. And I mean, they also have, like, a cult mentality. Look at the way that people bow down to Joe Biden. It's like, what has he ever fucking done for you?
Literally, yeah. It's like he's just slightly not as abrasive as Donald Trump. And he's everybody's like, thank God we don't have to care about politics anymore.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah. It's like he just isn't on Twitter. That's, like, the
exactly,
difference.
Yeah. Like, he's very much like what I would expect a 70-year-old man to be. Right. Like, on social media, which is barely and probably not even
it's just
actually
pictures
him.
of him walking.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
He just, like, it's like the only difference is that he, like, whispers the racist things that he says.
Yeah, it's true. And again, yeah, it's just like not overtly inspiring hate crimes.
Right, which is what America has been doing for centuries and why we can sneaky get away with shit so much.
Truly.
I hate it here.
I absolutely. This house is a fucking nightmare.
It's a prison. Funny movie. One of the other major products that is being greatly affected by these supply chain issues is semiconductor chips. Our more astute listeners will remember from that's a joke from our environmental episode where Taylor talked about oil spills and I talked about Bitcoin. You'll remember me mentioning the silicon that goes into these chips that are a part of basically every single electronic product ever.
Yeah, the silicon, and also in the gel things that keep things fresh.
Yes, that is true.
Bought a bunch of seaweed at Trader Joe's because I fucking love that shit. and there was the little things. I was actually thinking about that today because I saw the little silicon. I was like, Phoebe talked about that.
Phoebe. I'm not a seaweed gal.
It's okay. And I know not everybody is, but I fucking munch that shit.
That's good. I'm happy for you. It's very healthy for you.
It's good. It's got like
nice.
-2 calories. Like, it burns more to eat.
Exactly. It's like celery where as you chew it, you're just like, har, har.
You're like burning more calories chewing it. Yeah.
So with these semiconductor chips, due to several factors caused by supply chain issues and changes due to COVID, manufacturers are struggling to get a supply of these semiconductor chips. Recently, General Motors shut down several assembly lines at pickup truck plants. The CEO of Apple has said that iPhone sales are taking a hit, and Microsoft is running out of Xboxes to sell, as well as Elon Musk has reported that the production of Powerwall batteries has greatly decreased.
Yeah, I know there's been a really big shortage of Xboxes and PS5s. My boyfriend Justin, who was on the show for the Colt episode, cannot get a PS5 for an affordable price.
That poor boy.
He wants it so bad.
I know. Justin's Christmas wish list.
Yeah, honestly.
Get the boy a PS5.
Someone get this man a PS5.
Hurry. So obviously I don't give a shit about Tim Cook, Elon Musk, or General Motors.
No.
So why is this chip shortage bad? These chips, when put in cars, control most of the function of the car, like the seatbelt warnings, telling you when your gas tank is empty, and assessing any issues in your engine, where your little check engine light comes on that a lot of us ignore because we're too poor to fix it. So new cars that are being manufactured are being made with some features missing, like navigation or Bluetooth connections. But once all the chips that have been used for the necessary features, like the seatbelt sensors, manufacturers are forced to stop production because obviously you cannot sell a car that does not have safety features.
Obviously, yeah. So they're just like, well, we got to use the chips for this stuff, but we can't put them in better.
So they're like taking out, like Tesla has been taking out like their, I don't know, like the self-driving part of it or whatever. But it's like eventually when they ran out of like just selling cars that are shittier than they usually sell, it was like, okay, well, we can't sell a car that won't tell you that the engine's breaking.
Like we just can't sell cars now.
So this is a huge issue because it's driving up the prices of new cars by a mile, but also driving up the price of used or older cars that already have chips, because people who are looking to buy newer cars have turned to buying used or older cars to circumvent the chip issue.
That's so crazy. Yeah. That's so weird. You're like, can I get it 2 models older, actually?
Exactly.
Like,
since it has everything it needs in it.
Yeah, weird.
And so this demand for used or older cars, of course, drives up the prices of those, and it makes things less and less accessible to everyone. So, like, somebody who just needs a fucking car, they're not trying to buy a Tesla, they go to CarMax to get, like, a shitty Honda whatever of, like 2001 Honda whatever, like it's more expensive. It's way more expensive than they would be expecting.
2001 Honda, it's retro, sell it on Depop for
for
$360 million.
Fucking Depop. Oh god,
I'm so many tangents this episode, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But
I love it.
I just love fucking like things that are like from 2006 that are being sold on Depop is like retro, and I'm like,
Y2K is like
what?
Retro.
Yeah,
I know. Not to be like that person that's like, I can't believe I'm getting the but like really, I'm like, oh my god,
we're about to die.
I'm my 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah,
I'm well on my way to my 30s. Anyway, I'm doing great. Just kidding. I'm actually I'm fine.
Phoebe's
I don't mind aging.
Glowing, actually. Yeah.
Thank you. It's my highlighter.
It's true, and it's great. It's done very well.
Thank you. So the White House has funded agreements with chip manufacturers to speed up production, which this already can take anywhere from 6 months for one chip. And they're trying to get them into the hands of auto manufacturers, which is cool, I guess. However, like I said, these chips are used in practically every electronic device, and this includes medical equipment, which maybe you're not aware, but there is actually an increased number of people in the hospitals right now due to a little something called COVID-19.
Never heard of it.
Well, I have some really horrible news for you, Taylor.
Yeah, I was paying attention until about March of 2019.
2020.
Yeah. I was paying attention until about March of 2020, and but then I just stopped watching the news or going outside.
Right.
So I don't know what's happened in the past 2 years.
Sure. Okay. I have a lot to tell you.
Okay.
Ocean's on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Kim and Kanye broke up.
Oh.
Joe Biden's president.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
A horrible, horrible pandemic has been ravaging not only the nation, but actually the entire world.
Okay.
Fucked up a lot of stuff.
Oh, have Megan Fox and or Machine Gun Kelly met anyone?
Well, funny you should say that. They're actually in a really weird relationship together. God,
Anyway.
I'm so confused by them.
We'll have to talk about that.
Baby, what happened?
On a different episode.
Yeah, different episode. On a just celebrity shit talk episode.
That would actually be kind of fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. A little relaxing. So anyway, COVID-19 obviously has driven up the amount of people that are in hospitals. You've heard of the ICUs running out of beds, hospitals running out of ventilators. Well, all of those ventilators or patient monitoring machines, whatever else, medical equipment, require semiconductor chips to function. And at a time when such a large portion of our population is hospitalized, and when this administration is claiming that they're doing everything they can to help us recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, you think that they would maybe focus on getting these chips into life-saving medical devices.
Yeah.
But of course, there is much less money to be made saving people than there is to be made selling people trucks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, Who needs poor people?
Exactly.
Elon Musk needs to sell more cars so he can go to the moon. And who are we as the gross, ugly, poor people to stop him?
Exactly.
All I'm saying.
We cannot go on without Toyotathon.
Exactly. That's like straight people's culture.
Yes, like where would we be without Ram Truck Month?
That is. They say they don't have a straight pride, but we got Toyotathon, we got Ram Truck Month.
We have Rocktober.
Rocktober. Yeah, that's the straight pride.
Something.
Yeah, you have a lot.
The Bath and Body Works semi-annual sale. Come on, moms.
I know. It's true.
Yeah. So it's pretty fucking shitty, as the government tends to do. They are making, laying in the beds of these chip manufacturers, as well as sleeping with the auto manufacturers, and completely ignoring the rest of the population that is dying. So even with the White House pushing for a $52 billion program to bolster chip making, and Intel has been investing $20 billion into making 2 new chip manufacturing plants in Arizona, this chip scarcity problem is expected to continue for several years, actually.
That's, again, not surprising because of how, fucked everything's been with the pandemic.
Yeah, and again, these chips take about 6 months to make for just one of them. And these chip plants, manufacturing plants, they take maybe 2 years to build and are so insanely expensive.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I can only imagine. Then you have to hire the workers for it, and then you have to begin the production. It's just, I'm sure it's a lot of bullshit you got to run through.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a big, big mess.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
Well, so for my last little piece here, an extremely devastating consequence of the supply chain struggles is the impact it's having on school lunches. Turkey, chicken, orange juice, meal trays, and utensils are just some of the items that cafeteria workers have been scrounging to find lately. Shonia Hall, who's the director of school nutrition services for Oklahoma City Public Schools, was forced to step in herself when the distributor for school lunch items was unable to have the utensils that the school needed. Shonia ended up purchasing forks, sporks, and spoons, 60,000 of each, from the local Sam's Club. This came out of her own pocket, which would eventually be reimbursed by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's National School Lunch Program.
Mm-hmm.
But, she still had to,
use that money up front.
Go and, yeah.
Yeah, and and that's a big thing. Reimbursement is great for teachers, but, again, a lot of teachers don't have the money to front all the costs that they're using right up front there. So it's again, you get stuck in situations where a lot of times you're either paying for it and not really getting reimbursed, or it's just, not worth the effort, or you're just not buying the things you need. Right. And again, that's for teachers, but it's, same with this lunch situation.
Right. Shonia said that she hoped that this would be enough. She says, quote, she hoped it would be enough to, quote, get us through for a few days in hopes the truck would show up. We can't just hope. We have to be proactive. I can't feed kids without utensils, right? This is, of course, an already common practice in public schools, as Taylor was saying. Teachers and staff stepping in and using money from their own pockets to fill the holes that the slim U.S. education budget can't fill, and some of these purchases are not reimbursed. Last year, we saw the struggle for teachers to get hand sanitizer and masks for children. I remember growing up, teachers asking students and parents to bring in supplies, tissues, crayons, glue, whiteboard markers, etc. Or teachers asking students to bring in box tops to use the coupons on them to purchase school supplies.
Yep, it's awful.
It's
you have to
so sad.
But we need to the U.S. needs to have enough money to have a military base in every country imaginable.
No, we need that.
Yes. And if if teachers can't afford to teach, and we just can't educate children, we'll just send them to the military bases, because they're ugly poor people. Yeah. It's good. We got a great system.
Awesome.
No notes, actually.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. I think that us having a military base in every country is just us trying to influence other countries to be as good as we are. We're just trying to share our goodness.
Exactly, because like we are the best country that's ever existed. Yeah. No notes at all. Like, never done a single bad thing.
No, I can't think of creating an entire podcast based around that at all.
I could never. Yeah.
I wouldn't even do it. The end of the episode.
End of the episode, man. End of the show, really.
Yeah, we're done.
You know what? We stand corrected. America, it's all right.
You got us. America's all right. Oh, I hate this place. So, last year, the Seamless Summer Option was created, which offers free school lunches. This program has been extended to last through June 2022, and in a recent proposal by Democrats, this free lunch program would extend to all schools and last indefinitely. Republicans were critical of this, speculating that it is, quote, too expensive. Say what you will about Democrats, but at least they didn't vote against children getting free food.
It's so, what's the word? Fucking stupid that lunch isn't just free at school anyway.
Yeah.
They're literally, you got to be there 7 hours a day, and you're not going to give them food. Like, the fuck is wrong with you? They're children.
I know.
And there's a lot. I mean, you could talk about that for a long time, but it's like a lot of kids don't get consistent meals outside of school, like so having like a good meal at school is very important.
Yeah, many of them are like depending on this food that they get at school to be the meal they eat to survive.
Exactly. And also the fact that literally a fucking 8-year-old can go into debt at a school. Like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, oh my God, I'm losing my shit. I hate it so much. Evil.
When there was this whole thing, I can't remember when it was like a couple of years ago where, I don't know the details because I'm just thinking about this off the top of my head, but it was like this one school district or specific school, kids, when they were in like debt or if they would come up short or whatever, people were literally just dumping the lunch in the garbage. It's like, you're throwing away food. It's not even going anywhere. It's going in the garbage. Just give it to the kid.
Just give it to him. Why are you not? I mean, it's the same as fucking people... businesses that throw their food away at the end of the day. Exactly. It's like,
why?
That's good fucking food.
What
you
is
could
the point?
Literally give it to anybody.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like last year, I think it was in Portland or something, where like a Sam's Club or something had thrown away a bunch of food in this garbage and people were going to get it, and they sent a bunch of fucking police out to like guard trash.
To guard the trash.
Garbage.
It's like, it's better to throw something away and have nobody get it than to like not make a sale on a product or whatever. Yep.
It's so evil. It's so evil. And it's just like, again, these are literally they're children. You don't want them to just eat food for free at the school that they have to be at, or else they go, like, their parents get in trouble.
Exactly. Like, they have to be there. And you're not gonna you're gonna charge them for food. Like,
what is wrong with
And then
you?
Republicans are like, that costs too much money. It's like,
and I'm like,
fuck
you're
you.
the one that's sending money to give trucks fucking chips.
Exactly. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you.
No,
fuck.
It's so evil.
The fact that school lunch isn't free. No, and honestly, give kids free breakfast too. Fucking throw it all in there.
Yeah, which there has also been like a program for that as well. But
for sure.
It's
pull a Black Panthers and do that free fucking breakfast shit.
Please. So this program is obviously a great idea.
Yeah.
But with schools receiving short shipments or late shipments or just not receiving them at all, this program is getting harder and harder to uphold. President Biden has once again given a hollow promise that this issue will be corrected, saying, quote, "Never again should our country and our economy be unable to make critical products we need because we don't have access to materials to make that product." Like, okay, I hope. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, what's your plan, dog? Like, and I feel like that's always been the thing with Joe Biden. It's like,
he just says
he
shit.
says the nice things that we want to hear, but it's like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Like,
and what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Never again should our blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, it's happening.
Yeah. Like,
it's happening now, so.
Nobody planned on having a global pandemic,
exactly.
you know? Like, it wasn't like it was anybody's fault. Like,
right. I don't know. Oh, my God. He announced that the largest goods carriers in the U.S. will, quote, work harder to address the supply chain issues, even though retailers have already announced that there will be severe tightening, especially with the impending holidays. School staff are definitely feeling the stress. Brenton Lexvold, who is a food service director for Red Wing Public Schools in Minnesota, says, quote, "At the end of the day, we are expected not only to give our children a good education, but there's also the expectation of providing a nutritious meal. And when you're having these supply issues, it's going to impact your ability to be able to provide that, or at least you're going to spend a lot more time trying to source food or items that can hit that nutritious box."
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, not only is staff of this school and the staff that is, like, you know, providing the food and everything is way more focused on, we have to fucking feed these kids.
Yeah.
So that, like, directs attention away from just running a school and teaching a class well and all of that. Like, and then also, you know, you're not being able to have every part of this lunch that kids need, which does create, like, a full meal, which is supposed to help your brain work. And so when kids are missing, like, the veggie portion of it or just the protein, like chicken and all of that, they're going to be hungry or not fully fulfilled, and therefore they can't focus in class as well, and they're not going, like, it's just, again, it's this domino effect of just, it affects everything down the line, and it's just a complete shit show.
Yeah, everything's a fucking mess right now.
Yeah. So, sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So, that's my story.
Yeah. Good, positive, uplifting messages here at Remarks.
What we always aim to provide is making you feel so good about the trajectory of our country at the end of this episode.
Everything that's happening, yeah. But as we were saying, if you're in a union, good for you. If you aren't, try to start one. If you can't, do what you can to agitate, and don't take any shit from your fucking job, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck a job. They're not allegiant, like, they're not loyal to you. Don't be loyal to them. Like,
Exactly. Like, fucking spend all of the company time you can possible to find a job that will treat you and pay you better, and then peace out.
Peace the fuck out of there, bro. Yeah.
Because they don't care about you.
Bare minimum as much as possible.
Yep.
Like, just do it the bare minimum.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
And if you are in a union, please come talk to us. We would love to hear about it.
Please, I would love to talk to someone in a union.
Or if you work for, like, a school district, or you're in the, like, school system at all, we would love to hear what's going on there and what your life and struggles are like.
Yeah, especially with the pandemic, because that's been a huge shift.
Yeah,
so.
That would be very interesting. Yeah, to hear
hit us
from
up,
teacher or school staff.
So I'm doing the shout out game this week because it's a Twitter one. So shout out, it wasn't really the shout out game, but again, we kind of just do whatever the fuck we want because we own this podcast.
Exactly.
But yeah, so big shout out to our, Olivia, who commented on my post about what people were reading and said that she was reading Women, Race, and Class and finishing a book called Body Keeps the Score.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
She commented on the TikTok as well. Let me find it, RQ.
Olivia, our biggest fan.
I mean, yeah, in the running to being America's Next Top Remarks fan. I posted a little quip from one of our episodes, and where we were talking about, like, Shakespeare and our theater kids are culture not. And she says, as a theater kid, yes, it is gold.
Well, it's decided, so there you go.
I mean, you see how they acted the Village Inn after their
at the
closing
Denny's
performance.
God. How many, all the times I've been just politely enjoying a meal with my boys at the fucking Denny's at drunk at like 10 o'clock, and then fucking the theater kids roar, like you hear the roar as they come into the Denny's, and you're like, oh my God. Like, we gotta go.
Oh my God. Hurry up, boys. The theater kids.
Yeah.
They are coming.
Bag up that fucking grilled cheese. It's time to get the fuck out of here.
Oh my God.
Anyway, Phoebe, I desire so heavily to follow Remarks on social media, but I don't know where I can.
Well, Taylor, I'm so happy that you brought that up, because we actually have an Instagram that is @Remarks Podcast. We also have a hip and cool TikTok of the same handle at Remarks Podcast.
Hip and Jive.
Hip and Jive.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a Twitter involved.
I've heard through the grapevine that the Twitter is at RemarksPod.
Okay.
On the website www.twitter.com.
Mm-hmm.
And also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Please.
And a 5-star rating, even if you hate it. Just be nice and give us a 5-star rating.
Please, this is all we have.
it's all we got going for us.
My family is starving. I feed my family with 5-star reviews.
Yeah, that's all we eat. And then, I do have a YouTube channel you can check out as well. It's called The Lefty Agenda. If you go to any of those social media sites, we have our hip new link tree in the bio, so you can get to all the places you need right there.
Sexy new link tree with like a cute little background.
True. And Phoebe did the designing herself.
I mean, it was just an option on the Linktree website, but what can I say? Graphic design is my passion.
It's absolutely true. And I think other than that, peace and love. What was funny about that? Peace and love. People say that shit all the time.
It's just, I don't know. I've never heard that from you.
I guess. Tired.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening. Okay,
love you. Bye.